Thank you for tuning in to another PVC Podcast. Today is December 21st. When I'm recording this, so you know what that means. It is the post-championship episode. So we crowned a champion, a 2016 NCAA Division I women's volleyball champion. That's a mouthful, but you guys get the idea. And in the final, we had Stanford versus Texas, and the winner was Stanford. You guys all knew that. Hopefully, unless if you're reading under a rock, then congratulations. Now you know. Stanford beat Texas in the finals. But how did Stanford and Texas get here? So on Thursday for the semifinals, which was broadcasted on ESPN, not ESPN2, not ESPN 3, 5, whatever. It was on ESPN, the main channel. But the finals weren't. It's kind of weird. But ESPN Thursday, that's when Stanford played Minnesota. And Stanford essentially just shut down Minnesota with excellent blocking and defense. So, in blocking Minnesota, you pretty much take away what Minnesota is this season. So this season, Minnesota was well-rounded, whereas last season they relied heavily on outside hitter Dolly Santana because she is that good and she's playing professionally overseas. I forgot where, but just comparing that from that year to this year, that's one of the big notices that everyone noticed is they didn't rely heavily on one person this year. It was more well-rounded this year, which was good, which was made it really enjoyable to watch them throughout the season play against Wisconsin and Nebraska and Ohio State. But man, Stanford just shut everyone down except for Sarah Wilhite. Sarah Wilhite ended the game with 25 kills, and the second person with the highest kills after that was Alexis Hart with 11. Everyone else got Molly Lohman 8, Paige Tapp 7, Hannah Tapp 4. Those are really low numbers for this Minnesota team, but all credit to Stanford, man. They really just they essentially blocked and shut down the Minnesota. And one thing I noticed about this Stanford team, which is dominantly with freshmen, by the way, a very young team. I believe 4 freshmen on the court: Catherine Plummer, Morgan Hance, Adriana Fitzmaurice, Jenna Gray, and then all these freshmen, and they're all starters, man. But one thing that I noticed while watching this game was how composed and how relaxed Stanford was for being such a young team. You'd figured that's how Minnesota would play. Not saying that they didn't do that, but for me it was more obvious that Stanford was the more relaxed and more composed team in that match, which it speaks a lot about these young freshmen, and it makes it really exciting to think about where they're going to be at in the next 2-3 years. So I'm really excited to watch them next year and the following year play here in Maples Pavilion. So that's what Stanford did. Stanford shut down Minnesota. So they earned their ticket to the finals, and they were going to play the winner of Nebraska and Texas. Now Texas was on fire with their outsides. What's her name? Paula Prieto Cerame. She looked unstoppable on the outside. She was hitting everything, every angled line, sharp angle, roll shots, everything she was doing, it was hitting the floor on Nebraska's side. So she had a big part of that Texas win over Nebraska, and I believe that game went to 4-5. Let me pull it up real quick. No, they swept Nebraska. Yes, that's right. I just pulled it up. They did sweep Nebraska 3-0. First set 25-18, second set 25-23, third set 25-21. Man, it was not a good night for Nebraska, but all credit to Texas. They played a really great game, and they were up, honestly, from the start of the game. It wasn't like Nebraska and Penn State where lots of chunks were where lots of points were being scored in a row. This game was like Texas was up, and then it was more of like 1 point, 2 points, and then Nebraska 1-2. But for the most part, Nebraska held the lead right from the beginning of the set. And a lot of that had to do with Prieto Cerame and Wanabu on the right side. Just Wanabu just plays such a great game where she hardly makes any mistakes. And because of the other freshman, Micaiah White. So all of them combined, they were able to beat Nebraska. And I guess you kind of saw that coming from watching Nebraska play from the start of the bracket, all the way to Texas. Oh, comparing now, since I compared Minnesota from this season to last season, Nebraska essentially returned, what was it, 5 players, so it's virtually the same team. But they didn't seem as deadly as they did last year, if that made sense. Last year, man, they looked deadly. And last year, this was a championship match, Nebraska and Texas. And it was the complete opposite. Nebraska swept Texas. So what was the difference between last year and this year? I think it's on Nebraska's part, because they didn't look like they had the same fire as it did last year, if that makes sense. I mean, they still played hard. They still gave it their all. But in the end, Texas, they just played a better, cleaner game with a better, I'm pretty sure that better hitting efficiency if I recall correctly. But man, it was all Texas in this game, and that's how Texas punched their ticket in to the finals to play against Stanford. Micaiah White had 7 kills that game. Paulina Prieto Cerame had 12 kills that game, and Ebony Wanabu. Those 3, man, they contribute a lot to Texas, and they were able to beat the Cornhuskers. And then we get to the final, which happened on Saturday on ESPN2. So the semifinals were on ESPN, and the championship was on ESPN2. Come on, ESPN. Keep it on ESPN1. So this game went to 4 sets, and right from the start, it was Stanford. So one of the weird things was, so Paulina Prieto Cerame from Texas, she looked virtually unstoppable versus Nebraska. And she only had 2 kills in the first 2 sets versus Stanford. It was like the complete opposite. Stanford just shut her down with Marette Lutz and Inka Joniku and Adriana Fitzmaurice. Stanford's a pretty big team, and I think they were the number 1 blocking team in the nation, if I recall correctly. And man, they just shut down Paulina Prieto Cerame, who, in the semifinals, the game right before this one, she looked virtually unstoppable. And then she just gets 2 kills in the first 2 sets. Man, I think that's had a big part of Texas, because you could tell they wanted her to get going, because they kept setting her. They kept going to her probably more frequently than they should have. When they realized that, hey, she's not doing that well, maybe we need to spread the ball around. But you could only spread it around so much. They were doing their best setting the right side with Ebony Wanabu, because she, like I said, she only had like 1 or 2 errors throughout all 4 sets, and the first error wasn't until maybe the 3rd set. So she plays a really clean game, and she's a very smart hitter. And she ended the game with 16 kills, by the way. And Micaiah White was also she was on fire this game also. 17 kills. But man, Prieto Cerame, she was just struggling those first 2 sets. Like I said, 2 kills, that's 1 kill per set. Man, where she looked virtually unstoppable the game before. But man, and this game, Inky Joniku looked unstoppable, just like she has all season. So the first 2 sets, man, she really was unstoppable. She ended the game with 16 kills, and Catherine Plummer also looked pretty unstoppable, 18 kills to finish it. And Marette Lutz did her part. Adriana Fitzmaurice did her part with the blocking, and and converting also, which was another big help for Stanford. Um, so the first set was 25-21, second set 25-19, and it was all Stanford for those first two sets. So you could tell they had the momentum, and then going into the break, heading into the third set, Texas, they switched their lineup a little bit after Prieto Cerame just ended up with 2 kills. You have to switch something. You have to switch her, even though she looked unstoppable the game before. She's not doing anything this game. So they moved the middle, Yazid Berdar Ghani, to the outside. So last year she was actually playing, I believe, right side. And then this year they moved her to the middle. Guess they were struggling throughout the season with the middle. I think their main middle got injured, I think. So they put Berdar Ghani in the middle. And then after Prieto Cerame, I guess everyone has a good game. Everyone has a off game. Everyone, if you play volleyball, I mean, we've all had those off games. This was Prieto Cerame's off game. So the coach switched her out, set her on the bench, and put Berdar Ghani on the outside. And then I forgot who they put in on the middle, which ended up being a good lineup. It was a good decision, and Texas wound up getting that third set win, 25-18. And I think that really did help out Texas, because they were able to not just rely on Wanabu and Micaiah White. Because when Wanabu went to the back row, who are you going to set? Micaiah White? I mean, they're gonna put up two blockers. They know where you're going. So putting Berdar Ghani on the outside really did help him out a lot. But heading into the fourth set, it was all Stanford again. Inky Ajanaku looked unstoppable that set. So did Catherine Plummer. And then when those two just go off, then it's pretty much a wrap. And then another thing that pretty much got Stanford this win was freshman libero Morgan Hentz. She had some amazing digs. Just Texas, just wailing. And Morgan Hentz she reads the game really, really well. She's a very good libero, and she reads the game really well. She got some amazing ups, and she's willing to sacrifice her body to keep the ball up, which is, as you get older, maybe you don't want to do that because, joint pains and this and that. But then there's players like this who put it all on the line. Not saying that everyone else doesn't, but I mean, you see a ball land within a foot of a player, and they'll just like run past the ball as it hits the ground. And then there's those players that like dive to the ground no matter what. They'll dive into the stands. That'll dive into the chairs, into the bench. And Morgan Hentz is one of those players, and honestly, she's the reason that Stanford stayed alive in some of those rallies. She had some amazing ups, some amazing saves, and it was really exciting match just because watching Morgan Hentz get the ball up, it was amazing, and then watching Stanford able to convert. So that's what Stanford did really well. Not only did Morgan Hentz keep Stanford alive, but Stanford did a great job on putting the ball away after she got those amazing saves. Because a lot of times you'll see these teams, maybe they have a great defense, but they're not able to convert. So you get these long rallies. Not that this game did have long rallies. There was one very long rally, and I think Stanford ended up getting that rally. But I mean, we've all seen those teams where the team is really good on defense but not so strong on offense. So they have these amazing ups, but they're not able to convert. So all the momentum they're generating is essentially going to the other team because they're not able to convert. So that's what Stanford did really well. And all the credit goes to, well, I should say not all, but most of the credit should go to Morgan Hentz for all the ups, all the digs that she gets. just saving Stanford, and then Jenna Gray just running the offense, and Catherine Plummer, Inky Ajanaku just putting the ball away. And that's why they're the champions. They're a great defensive team, number one blocking team in the nation, and they're able to convert once the ball does get through the block. So that's a really good job for Stanford. And I think Inky Ajanaku, was the only senior on the floor besides Kelsey Humphreys, who goes in for Marette Lutz on the right side. So it should be really exciting watching the Stanford team just continue to grow together in the next coming years. So that should be exciting. So Stanford should be a team to watch in these next coming years. So now that we're done with the bracket, let's get to the AVCA championship. Not the championship. The awards. So the award. Coach. Let's do the coach of the year first. So coach of the year goes to the Stanford coach, John Dunning, and I think I agree with that. Not only did Stanford win the championship, but he's been there for quite a long time, and John Dunning is regarded as one of the legendary coaches, along with Russ Rose. And coincidentally, with this Stanford championship win, they tie Penn State with most national championships at 7 apiece. So I 100% agree with that award, and he deserves that award. He's always a good coach, and Stanford's always even though they don't always make it to the championship, they always make it to the championship bracket, and they're always exciting to watch. And it's all due to John Dunning. And I think this year especially, because Stanford was struggling sort of the first half of the season, and he somehow managed to switch things around and make it work, and it paid off in the end. It got him a championship. So congratulations to John Dunning, one of the greatest coaches out there. Next award, National Player of the Year. And the National Player of the Year goes to Sarah Wilhite, the outside hitter from Minnesota. And I could see that, because even though Minnesota is well balanced, she really did step up for her team this year. And in regards to whenever they needed her, she was there. She stepped up to the plate, and she's the reason why Minnesota is so strong. And like I said earlier, when Minnesota lost to Stanford, Sarah Wilhite was pretty much the only one that didn't get stopped by Stanford. So I think that is a good choice, because she did stand out. So Minnesota was well balanced, but Sarah Wilhite still stood out a little bit more than everyone else. When you look at the rest of the teams, especially when you get to the top 5, I mean, it's pretty well balanced. Nebraska, well balanced, an amazing libero. Libero got Big Ten libero of the year. And the Rolfson twins, Katie Rolfson and Amber Rolfson, just amazing throughout the season. And Becky, I think Courtney Becky is her name. Becky just doing good on the outside. So Nebraska's pretty well balanced also, but no one really stood out. So I agree with this Minnesota, with Sarah Wilhite being the player of the year. Even when you look at Stanford, even though Inky Ajanaku does stand out, so does Catherine Plummer, freshman, and leads them to victories, and all while being a freshman. So I agree with that. Texas, same thing. Wannabe plays a very clean game, but so does Micaiah White. So all these teams, they're all there's a reason why they're all in the top 10, in the top 4. There's a reason they made it into the semifinals and this and that. But for Minnesota, I think Sarah Wilhite just sticks out a little bit more than everyone else, and I agree with that National Player of the Year award. And as for the National Freshman of the Year award, it went to Catherine Plummer. Also, Catherine Plummer, out of all the freshmen, I mean, Texas has their freshman, Micaiah White, who's solid. Minnesota has their freshman, Alexis Hart. Pretty much every team has pretty much a freshman that sticks out. But when you have a freshman like Catherine Plummer, who she didn't even start as an outside at the beginning of the season. They moved her when Stanford did the switch mid-season. They put her as outside, and she was been solid, and she doesn't play like a freshman. She plays more like a senior. She sort of like Sarah Wilhite. So I fully agree with this Freshman of the Year award also. Even though Micaiah White could have gotten it also. She's another good outside hitter. And there's plenty of freshmen that could have gotten this award, but seeing how Catherine Plummer is, I think how she carries herself, more composed, and just sort of, it seems like almost that she almost carries the team at times with Stanford. So I also agree with this AVCA Coaches Award for Freshman of the Year. And as for awards, I think that's about it. I'm not gonna get into the list of the first team All-Americans. If you follow it, I'm pretty sure you know who the All-Americans are. Some Nebraska players, Wisconsin, all that. So it's been an amazing year for volleyball. We had the Olympics this year. Before the Olympics, we had the men's World League finals, which was exciting. I think next week I will do a year in review, because it's been an exciting year. We had the men's Ohio State coming out of nowhere. Ohio State won the men's NCAA championship this year, and they look they look like they're gonna be poised this year. And starting January, the men start playing. So that it should be another exciting year for volleyball next year in 2017. Other news. And in other news, international news, for the men's national team, their head coach, Antigua, dude, I don't know how to say his name. Anyways, the Poland's national team, men's head coach, he is now the head coach for Canada's men's national team. And so now Poland's got a new national team head coach. And his name is, let me pull it up real quick. I just saw it. I do not recognize the coach. I do not believe he is coming from I don't think he's another volleyball head coach. And I cannot. Okay, found it. So Stefan Antigua is the name of the previous Poland head coach. It was replaced by Italian coach Ferdinando De Giorgi. And he's going to be the coach for Poland through the 2020, so through the next 4 years, essentially through the next Olympics, which is in Japan. Tokyo, Japan, if I recall, which is in Japan. So yeah, so Poland, a lot of rumors were circulating this in the past couple weeks, but it's been solidified this week, pretty much confirmed. Some of the issues, rumors, of course, what I heard for the reason of the departure of Stefan Antigua is the players not really liking some of the decision making regarding the roster. So that's kind of debatable. I kind of saw it, when when they didn't play maybe their best players. But then again, this is all subjective to me. I have my favorite players, but that was pretty much I think why he left, and also because Poland they didn't do so well this year and not only in the Olympics but in the World League leading up to the Olympics. And they're a really good team. They have Bartosz Kuric, they have Michael Kubiak, they have Montusz Mika. They have a lot of great players, but weren't they just weren't good this year. And it's kind of I felt kind of bad because I really liked the Poland team. So maybe it was, kind of the lineup. Because I know sometimes Montusz Mika wouldn't be in the lineup, and it's like, really, when he's in, he does really well. One of the best outside hitters Poland has, but he really didn't see that much court time this year, and it's like, really? Okay, I guess I'm not the coach. What do I know? So I think that not only him, but that a couple other lineup lineup changes that he made. So, and those rumors were from a couple of the players from the Poland. So let's see how good Poland is. I'm excited. Hopefully Poland does a little bit better this year. Like I said, they have a lot of great players: Bartosz Kuric, Montusz Mika, Michael Kubiak. So really excited for this Poland team. And really excited for the Canada team too. Canada did surprisingly well. They made it to the Olympics this year. They did pretty good in the Olympics. Probably not as good as they would have hoped, but I was actually they were actually exciting to see, exciting to watch. So, um, right now, let's give you guys an update on a couple of the USA players for the men's side. Uh, just because I have the page open, this is all from teamusa.org. So every once in a while they'll release a pretty much a catch up of what their players are doing. And right now is the what's it called, the Sev Championship, round two. So and all the players, they're all playing in different leagues. Some are in Italy, some are in Russia, some are in Poland, Germany, France, Greece. So I'm just gonna go down the list and I'm gonna skip a couple of them because I don't know a couple of these players. So, but everyone knows who Matt Anderson is. Matt Anderson playing for Zenit Kazan, and they apparently defeated Lokomotiv Novos. Dude, I'm not gonna say that. Novosibirsk, and Lokomotiv. They have libero Eric Shoji and setter Kavika Shoji, and Matt Anderson and Zenit Kazan. Zenit Kazan has always been good. I think last year they won the Russian Cup, and I think this year they're poised to take it again. So Matt Anderson, he led all scorers with 19 points on 15 kills, one block, and three aces. Nice. So I think they're the only ones playing in Russia. Those three. All right. So we move on to Italy with U.S. middle blocker Max Holt. Another thing with Max Holt, USA had pretty much awards for all their volleyball players, and Max Holt got this year's male indoor player of the year, which he deserves, man. He from World League and through the Olympics, he's been solid, man. He's been exciting to play. If you guys don't know, Max Holt plays middle for USA, and he plays middle for Azumit Modena in Italy. And Azumit Modena is a strong club team, and he actually signed for this club team all the way through 2020. So pretty much all the way through the Olympics. Also, he's gonna stay with USA, and he's gonna stay with Azumit Modena. So hopefully Azumit Modena pretty much keeps the same lineup because it'll be good for Max Holt. Just playing with the same players throughout the next 4 years, and it should another exciting 4 years to watching Max Holt. Max Holt just get better, and man, he's been great this year. Last year I think he struggled a little bit with his jump serve, but leading into the World League and the Olympics, he got that down, and I think he's one of the best offensive middles in the world. Also blocking also, but uh, for sure probably the best offensive middle in the world. So last year, no, Holt played for Dynamo Moscow. So this year, like I said, Modena all the way through 2020, and I believe they won their first two rounds of the Sev Championship. Round one and round two, they defeated Revire Milano 23-25, 21-25, 25-15, 25-20, and 15-11. Holt had 9 points that game with 8 kills and 1 block. And Brian Cook is also on this team, but he doesn't play that much, mainly because I mean they have a beast of an outside, Engapeth. He's Engapeth, man, and I forgot who the other outside is. It'll come to me later on. But yeah, Brian Cook, he didn't play this game. For those of you that don't know, Brian Cook played for Stanford. I think it's 2 seasons now ago, and Stanford was really strong back then, also for the men's team. Setter Micah Christensen also plays in the Italian league. Plays for don't know how to say this. Kusune Lube, Civitanova, Lube. I always call it Lube. So they won also. Christensen scored 5 points, 1 kill, and 4 aces. Nice. And also in the Italian league, seems pretty popular. Aaron Russell, of course, plays for Sur Safety Perugia with Zaitsev and the Checo. That team is stacked, man. That Sur Safety Perugia, man. Them versus Modena. They already played, actually. I think they played twice, and I think they're tied at one apiece. I think Modena won the first game, and Servia and uh, Sur Safety Perugia won the second game. I could be wrong, but they've already played, and they should play again because both those teams are stacked. Going back to Aaron Russell, Sur Safety Perugia. I think this is his first season playing professionally, where he played last season with Penn State. So I think this is his first season playing professionally, if I'm correct. And they beat Padova, Kicione Padova, 19-25, 25-22, 25-19, 25-18. And on the Padova team is setter James Shaw, who is from Stanford. Well, he played for Stanford last season or season before? Last season, yeah. And also on the roster for Padova was Taylor Averill. If you guys don't remember Taylor Averill, he played 2 seasons ago with Hawaii, and he's a beast of a middle. Beast. He played for Hawaii. Apparently he played in the 4 set and he got 2 points, but I guess he doesn't play that much for Padova. And middle blocker Konrad Kaminsky, I guess he's also on the Padova team. Konrad Kaminsky, also part of that Stanford team with James Shaw a couple seasons ago. Or does he play for a different club team? Man, this last paragraph is weird. Blah 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 blah. Okay, never mind. Konrad Kaminsky plays for a different team, also in the Italian league. Bungie Ravenna, which lost to Volley Latina. So seems like the Italian league seems to be more popular for the USA players. Now going to the Poland team. That's where David Smith and libero Dustin Wadden, they play in the Poland league. Do not know how to say their club team. Serad Zarni. And they lost to Indy Pol as so David. I don't know how to say that. Anyways, David Smith plays middle. He's middle blocker for USA. Plays middle blocker also for his club team. Dustin Wadden, libero, an amazing libero. Just if you guys don't follow him on Snapchat, Instagram, I think he's vegan, and he's really, really healthy, man. I feel bad just eating anything. Follow his Snapchat. I forgot what it is. I think it's Nosy Buckets. But man, he will make you feel bad if you think you eat healthy, remotely healthy. No. Watch what he eats. Man, it's super healthy. I feel fat. Just every time I open up his Snap, I had to stop watching him at one point. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy my burger. Sorry, Dustin. I'm just gonna enjoy it. And also in Poland is Jonas Seif, and Kyle Russell. So Jonas Seif, he was a setter for UC Santa Barbara. He already graduated. And outside hitter Kyle Russell, he was an outside hitter for UC Irvine. Man, Kyle Russell is just a really good outside hitter. Also, in Germany, who's playing in Germany? I do not recognize any of these names, so I shall skip them. France, middle blocker Dan McDonald. We saw a little bit of Dan McDonald in this year's friendly match versus Japan before the Olympics. And he's playing out in France. And they're leading the France's A-League with an 8-1 record. Nice. In Greece, outside hitter Greg Petty. We're not going to get into Greg Petty. Oh my God, Greg Petty. And China, which is surprising. Taylor Sander is playing in China. Last year, Taylor Sander played in Italy with Blue Verona. And this year, he moved to China. Yeah, I'm not sure why. Maybe money. Maybe, just a different scenery. I mean, what would you do? This raises another question. We're pretty much just wrapped up all the whoever's playing overseas and whatnot. What would you do, if you were in those shoes, and if you were in Taylor Sanders' shoes? Would you, heading into your second club season, would you play with the same club team? Would you go back to Blue Verona, back to Italy? Or would you maybe want to see a different part of the world, go play in a different league in China? I'm not sure who else is playing in China. I think Kubiak is playing in China, Poland's outside hitter. But the strongest leagues are for sure in Russia and Italy. Not saying everywhere else isn't as strong, but it seems like the stronger players, they tend to gravitate to the Italian league and to the Russian league. So what would you do if you were in Taylor Sanders' shoes? Would you go back to Blue Verona and go back to Italy? I mean, it's Italy. I'm pretty sure it's beautiful. I've never been there, but I'm pretty sure it's beautiful. Just beautiful scenery, just amazing people, the food. Or would you want to see a different part of the world and maybe go to a different league? And he chose China. Maybe next year he'll choose a different league. Maybe he'll go to the France league or to the Russian league, maybe to the Korean league. I think Korean league, Grozer from Germany, I think he's playing in Korea. So what would you do? Would you stay faithful? Would you pull a Max Holt, sign a 4-year contract to stay in one club team? Or would you essentially want to see the world? I personally would want to. I'd probably just stay with the same club team just purely on chemistry. Look forward to seeing people that you don't see. Max Holt, he doesn't always see Engapeth, but during this season he sees Engapeth, and he sees all these other great players, LaRue and all the other good players. Or would you want to see the world? So would you rather sort of build chemistry? Maybe, I mean, the club teams, they do change, as you see. Max Holt, he wasn't playing for Modena last year, but now he is playing for Modena, and he wants to stay there for 4 years. So would you stay in the same club team, or would you go somewhere else? I see both sides of this argument. Well, it's not even an argument. I see both sides of this. There's wins and wins for both sides. I mean, on one side, you already know what to expect. You already have experience with this club. Maybe it's not the same players, but for the most part, you know the coach, you know the system. And on the other hand, you get to see a different part of the world, which not everyone gets to experience. Not everyone gets to travel. Everyone wants to travel, but how many people actually get to travel? So I see it from both parts, and I, you know, maybe China wasn't the best, but maybe it was. Maybe he's enjoying himself. Hmm. Let's see where Taylor Sander ends up next year. That'd be really exciting. One name that I did not see on here, which, and if I recall correctly, I why do I say that a lot? I don't know. Is Thomas Jeschke. He's also an outside hitter, also a bronze medal Olympic medalist. I think he went back to Loyola to finish up his school because last season he would have been a senior, but he decided to skip his senior year and go play for Asseco Rezovia. And I could have sworn he was gonna, for some reason, go back and finish school this season. Yeah, because his name is not on this list, and this is from the official USA volleyball list. Yeah, I think that's what he did. Yep, yep. Let's go with that. So let's see where Thomas Jeschke plays next year. Will he go back to Sekorazovia? I think he did pretty good. Playing that, they were a pretty strong team. Also, Sekorazovia. I don't know who they have this year, because last year they had him, Thomas Jeschke. They had Bartosz Kurek last year, but Bartosz Kurek now, um, He went back to the club team before this one. I think it's Skra. No, it's somewhere else. It'll come back to me. And reading all this off, it's good seeing the world, I guess, especially with volleyball. You look at all these players, all these national players, and they all go play overseas for their club team. And I saw an article um, earlier this week on, I think it was from USA Volleyball. It was, all these players, they go overseas to play professional club team. Why doesn't USA have pretty much their own professional league? The NFL, NBA. Well, how come USA doesn't have their own professional volleyball league? And I think it's because it's not as big as it is here, USA, as it is everywhere else. I mean, you look at the games, or at least clips, because it's kind of hard watching these club games, or at least full matches. If you watch them, the stadiums, they get packed. It's like a regular basketball game here. If you're from USA, it's like a regular basketball game, regular football game. The stadiums get packed. Everyone has their team. They have all their gear and stuff. And it's not as big here in USA, but it is growing, especially with technology. Because like 10 years ago, you couldn't live stream the game. 10 years ago, the semifinals for the women's championship wouldn't be on ESPN One. It on ESPN regular. I'll call it ESPN One. It'd be on ESPN Two, but it wouldn't be on ESPN One. And then now, for the most part, you can stream most of the games now. Albeit for some, like the BTN, like the Big Ten network, you do need your login for your TV provider, but still, it's better than nothing. And slowly the game is growing, and hopefully one of these years, maybe USA will have their own professional league here. Maybe the players, maybe we will get the players from other countries, and it's a dream. It'll have to take a lot, but for sure the sport is growing, especially the beach. I mean, now there's a championship for beach, for collegiate championship, so the beach game is for sure growing, and I think with the beach game, the indoor game grows. And with technology, with live streaming, and with people just with social media, it's for sure growing the sport. And I'm excited to see where it goes, where we end up 5 years from now. In just short amount of time. I mean, we have we could already see the impact of technology in the actual game with a challenge system. And this year, the championship of the NCAA women's volleyball, they had the challenge system. And even in the Big Ten, I'm not sure if they had it in the other ones. I mainly follow the Big Ten this year, mainly because that's where the top teams were. Even though it was kind of funny because they all pretty much swap from number one, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and they all played in the Big Ten. So the Big Ten was strong this year, but the champion did not come from the Big Ten. So kind of weird there. But Big Ten, they did a good job of using technology. Most of their games I saw from my phone, live streaming it, and or even a previous broadcast. And the challenge system, they had the challenge system at most of their games, and that really it changes the flow of the game. Maybe a player got a touch, and the ref didn't call it. Challenge, point goes to you. So that's a good improvement with technology. It's still not perfect because trying to zoom in when you're zooming in, maybe it's still a little bit blurry. But it's in the early stages of it, and we saw it at the Olympics. Also, the Olympics also had the challenge system. So let's see. Maybe there's a new technology in the next Olympics in Tokyo, because Tokyo. I always think of Tokyo as being a little bit further up ahead of us than in technology wise. So can't wait for those Olympics. Got to start putting money in my piggy bank to go visit it, watch it live. Yes. So that wraps up this podcast. Next week we'll do a year in review of 2016 because a lot of stuff has happened. Ohio State winning the men's national championship. Serbia winning World League for the men's heading into the Olympics. And then due to some weird rules for the Olympics, Serbia not qualifying for the Olympics. Okay. And then Brazil winning the Olympic championship for the men's. And China, it was China, right? I already forgot who won the women's because I was kind of disappointed that the women for the USA did not win the gold. We still ended up with medals, bronze, but gold. Anyways, we'll do a year-end review. We'll go through all the championships, and then Stanford, of course, doing a lineup change, mid-game, and then that's all she wrote. They're champions. So we'll do a year-end review. And then 2017 looks to be just as exciting. I think they already released some of the teams for the women's national team. I guess they're holding the tournament for the women's tournament next year. So we'll go into all the teams that are in that tournament. So yeah, so thanks for listening. If you have any recommendations, want me to go over anything, leave them in the comments. Make sure you subscribe. And thank you for tuning in to the Panther Volleyball Club podcast. Have a nice day.